All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're just going to do a quick little, I think it's only about 6 slides, just a quick little review of what this no taxation without representation really meant. Okay, so let's go to the next slide and we'll talk about it here. All right, so remember, after the French and Indian War was over, British Parliament, these dudes here in the wigs that yell back and forth at each other and are there in British House of Commons there where Big Ben is, they wanted a way to pay back all the debt that was accrued by William Pitt during the French and Indian War to help win the colonies' land in North America away from the French. Okay, so it's about these guys. What made the colonists so angry, and where this no taxation without representation came from, was the fact that they had no say in deciding on these tax laws. And I think we talked about the sugar tax and the stamp tax and the Townsend Acts, which put taxes on paint and lead and paper and tea and all those kind of things, and then the coercive acts, which shut down Boston Harbor, and the Quartering Act, where you had to keep British soldiers in your house, those kind of things, right? So King George III in the Parliament taxed the colonists to pay back for the war without their consent or their agreement. When you consent to something, that means you agree to something. You have to sign a consent form to say, sure, I'm going to go bungee jumping and I won't sue you if I fall to my death, things like that, okay? So there's the taxation and no representation, meaning they had no representation, nobody there from the colonies in British Parliament saying, well, we don't really like that tax law, let's change it a little bit, or sure, we like that, let's go along with it, that kind of thing. Okay? Why the colonists felt that they were guaranteed this was because back here in this thing called the English Bill of Rights that came out in 1689, and it basically said that people living in British colonies, like over here in North America, had the same rights as people living in Great Britain, in England. And one of those rights was that you had representation in Parliament. You had somebody there representing you as a person and your needs and what you wanted and things like that, what you expected of your representatives. Okay? So, the whole no taxation without representation, who's that get credited to? This guy right here, James Otis. He was a representative in the Massachusetts Assembly with Samuel Adams and John Adams and different people like that. And after one day in the session, he came out and told people in Boston, says, you should refuse to pay the stamp tax until they had representation in Parliament. So the crowd took his words and kind of twisted them around a little bit and made the catchy little saying, no taxation without representation. You will not tax us unless we are represented in Parliament. Okay, so that can go back to, you can thank James Otis for that, is the guy that basically coined the phrase, technically coined the phrase. Okay, so I think I said to you multiple times, said, on your deathbed, your last word should be no taxation without representation, because we will learn about that, and we've learned about it so much that I want you to never forget that. Okay, so no taxation, you can't tax us without us having representation, people representing us, and that's how the American government works today. All right, Ben Franklin said 2 things in life are guaranteed: death and having to pay taxes. And he's basically right, but we have representatives, we have congressmen and senators who go to our state capitals and then go to Washington, D.C. and represent us. Okay, so no taxation without representation. Cool. All right.